You're on.
All right, good evening. We have quorum, so we will go ahead and call this meeting to order. Welcome to the Las Cruces Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for October 22nd. One just point, or I guess announcement to make, which you could probably tell if you're in the room, but we are broadcasting live again via the city's website and YouTube channel. So want to extend a thank you to staff who've been working on that for some time. So thank you very much for getting us back on air. I'm sure members of the public will really appreciate that. So with that, looking for approval of the minutes from the September meeting pending no changes need to be made.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I second.
We'll do roll call. Commissioner Thurston?
Yes.
Well, you guys are out of order. Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Acosta?
I have to look around for just a minute. Yes.
I'm sorry. Commissioner Murray, sorry.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Kaiser?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any conflicts of interest from the commission this evening?
As stated last meeting, I do have a conflict of interest for old business 8.1 and 8.2.
Okay, so I believe with that, we'll ask him to step down from the dais, but he can stay in the room. Should leave the room. Okay, so when we get to those items, you'll have to leave the room, and then we'll call you back in. We have no postponements, so looking for a motion to accept tonight's agenda.
I move that we accept tonight's agenda.
I second.
Commissioner Thurston?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Acosta?
Yes.
Commissioner Murray?
Yes.
And Chair?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to public participation. Is there anybody in the audience tonight that wishes to speak on an item that is not on tonight's agenda? Can I get a show of hands? Seeing none, we will come back, and we have no consent agenda items this evening, so we will move into old business. We will need to suspend the rules to hear items 8.1 and 8.2 together, to hear the presentation together, and then we'll unsuspend to take separate votes. So Commissioner Murray, if you would like to recuse yourself. Does he need to state that he's?
No, because he already.
Okay, no. We'll come get you when we're done. So I need a motion to suspend the rules to hear items 8.1 and 8.2 together.
I make a motion as presented.
To suspend the rule.
Yes.
I second.
Commissioner Thurston?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Acosta?
Yes.
Commissioner Murray is abstain, and Commissioner Kaiser?
Yes. All right, we'll turn it over to staff for a presentation.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Vincent Benegas, Interim Planner for the record. This evening we're here to discuss a planned unit development concept plan and road improvement waiver request involving case 24Z025000012. That is for the concept plan itself, and the road improvement waiver is 24CS4000100. Just for some of you that have heard me talk to this issue, I apologize, but for those who are new, it might benefit you a little bit just to understand what a PUD is. We don't deal with those all too often. So I thought I'd put together a little slide that basically compares the PUD process to the traditional development process. When we're talking about the subdivision of land, you're dealing with two processes, again, PUD traditional. Under the traditional, you have the master plan, preliminary plat, and final plat. Construction drawings follow. Under the PUD, you have a concept plan, which serves as the master plan. You have a final site plan, which serves as the preliminary plat, and the final plat is the same. The PUD complies with growth management policy that is identified in Elevate Las Cruces Comprehensive Plan, but it allows flexibility in terms of the development proposal and typically speaks to land use, densities, intensities. It can speak to architecture, open space, building arrangements, et cetera, a host of issues that you typically might not get involved with through the traditional process. In essence, what staff has typically stated in the past in several instances is that this process can be a foundation by which a developer develops their own little zoning code, if you will, to speak to how property will be developed. And it can be used not only for your large subdivision type land area, but it can also be site specific. Going back to Sunrise Mesa, in terms of what we're dealing with, the property is located at 5689 Porter Drive. It is the northwest corner of Central Avenue and Porter Drive. It's part of an original PUD under the same name, had a separate concept plan which was approved in 2007. Due to the lack of development on that portion, which is north of Central Avenue, the concept plan expired. The zoning remained in place, but the concept plan expired. And so now they're coming forward to resubmit a new proposal to be considered this evening. The property is currently undeveloped. It's bordered by a principal arterial, which in this case is Porter Drive. It's a 2-lane road. It's improved. A collector roadway called Central Avenue. It's unimproved, and at least a portion that is adjacent to the development boundary. And one fully dedicated and unimproved local roadway called Alba Road. That is unimproved, and that is the subject of the road waiver request, which will also be discussed this evening. 3 larger developments are in the vicinity of this proposed area, Vista de la Montaña, Tierra Hermosa, which was recently brought forward to this commission for approval in terms of their subdivision proposal, and Sunrise Mesa Mobile Home Park, which is located south. The first 2 are on the east side of Porter Drive, so therefore east of the subject boundary. There's also several individual lots in the vicinity that are developed. In large part, they're developed. And the land use pattern basically consists of single family and some multifamily type uses, and the residential component of which is typically mobile home, site-built homes, and manufactured homes. The total acreage under consideration is 23.2 acres. I've got an aerial here that shows the outer boundary in red, consists of 2 parcels, obviously as shown. You got Porter Drive along the east side. You got Central Road or Central Avenue. You could tell the name changes right at Porter, but Central on the south side. And this little dirt road here is Alba. It's, as indicated, unimproved. Other roadways, Village Drive will come into the discussion here, and that's located in this vicinity. This is where Tierra Hermosa is currently underway in terms of development, and this is where the other significant development has taken place. Eliana Road, which was part of packet discussion previously before the matter had to be postponed. is located here, but it is no longer under consideration for tonight. This is the zoning map that again illustrates the location of the proposed development outlined in red. You could see the subject property is PUD. It's listed as PUD R2. Staff believes that the R2 designation was merely an indication of the density that the PUD, the original PUD, was to be developed under. I think for tonight and hereafter, PUD is the zoning designation that would be used and should be used. Everything around it, at least in this area here, is R1A. That's your typical single-family, medium-density style of development. Site-built homes or mobile homes, in this case, exist because of annexation of the area prior to regulation that would prohibit them. Manufactured homes as well. The Sunrise Mesa Mobile Home Park sits here, and here's R1A Mobile, which allows mobile homes in this vicinity. Further south of the subject property is some commercial C2, C3 as it relates or as it comes closer to Baton Memorial West. So the proposal this evening is a mixed-use PUD. It does have the requested road waiver up for consideration. It's a multifamily townhouse style of development that is being proposed. It's approximately 12.6 acres in size for that residential component. If you look at just that residential area, it comes in at about 16 to 20 dwelling units per acre in terms of density. If you look at the whole, the 23.2 acres, it falls more in line with an 8.5 to 11 dwelling unit per acre density calculation. The commercial tract is 4.41 acres more or less, and the drainage open space is 2.9 acres, and right-of-way consists of 4. The proposal seeks to develop the property in 3 phases. The first one sits clear of any issues involving stormwater drainage-related matters. The other 2 will come into play and have to be coordinated with the City of Las Cruces, and that there's a conditional letter of map revision or a letter of map revision process underway, and that has to take place before any development takes place. The public benefits that were identified per the concept plan is mixed-use development, provisions for attainable housing, in this case missing middle or a form of missing middle. It brings commercial, a pocket of commercial into the area further north of Baton, which is nice. You don't have to travel or hop in the car to go get milk or eggs or whatever else you may find in a commercial center. The proposal also provides opportunities for passive and active recreation, in that there is a drainage tract provided in the boundary that will be maintained by the developer, but also allows for some recreational activities if the residents so wish. It's walkable from a connectivity perspective. There will be sidewalks provided throughout and reflected in future planning efforts associated with the development process. The provisions for stormwater conveyance are being provided to aid the City of Las Cruces in drainage projects, ultimately dumping some of the water into the Oda Vista Pond, which is adjacent to the subject boundary. There are every intention by the developer to match any existing right-of-way cross-sections, particularly those for Central Avenue and Porter Drive. Any necessary pro rata share of dedicated right-of-way along Porter will be provided. Any improvements pro rata share will also be provided. Central Avenue is going to be 100% built out, and there is also provisions for an additional 40 feet of drainage right-of-way to aid in that drainage effort that the city is looking at the present time. The proposal regarding Alba Road, there's 50 feet of right-of-way that exists for Alba Road. It is a local roadway, and so there's no need for further dedication of right-of-way. But according to design standards, development or any application for development would have to improve that road. But since the developer is providing additional dedication for drainage to aid in the overall good of the area in terms of drainage, and because the Sunrise Mesa PUD, the concept plan, does not intend to access this local roadway or have any form of ingress egress to it, and because the Alba Road dead ends at the northern point, and it would serve one property owner, and that's the owner where that roadway is located. And so as such, they are seeking to not be required to improve Alba Road. This is a very small picture snapshot of the concept plan, but I'm going to focus in on this area. This is the actual concept plan itself. This was that drainage pond that I told you about. It's adjacent to Alba Road here. This is the road that has the 50 feet of right-of-way, but they're asking for a waiver request to improvement. This blue area represents, or purple area, however it's coming up there, is the 40 feet of additional drainage right-of-way. Central Road, being a collector, has the 85 feet, or will have the 85 feet dedicated. Porter Drive, located here along the east side, has the 100, or will have the 120 feet of right-of-way. Village Drive intersects right here, and at the present time, there is a lot of discussion and design considerations going in for a roundabout at this location, which the applicant and representative are well aware of and intend to design with that in mind. The area in red represents the lots that will have the multifamily uses on it, the townhomes located on it. Most will be 4 attached units, some will be less, but the intent is to have 4 units. They will follow a policy that's established in-house to allow development of those units as a single-family use rather than a commercial use. There are some commercial aspects, such as landscaping, that are still considered, but that serves as a benefit to the developer for a variety of reasons, mostly insurance, as I understand it, among others. This here is a commercial tract right at the intersection of Central Avenue and Porter Drive, and the road network obviously looping around. One thing, you have connectivity. This was an access easement, if you will, for pedestrians to get to the commercial tract, and this one as well. A couple of photos just to give you an idea of what's out there. Porter Drive and Central Avenue looking north. Vista de la Montaña is over here. Porter Drive looking south. You can see the park that is provided, Vista de la Montaña. This is where Village Drive intersects Porter Road. And this is Central Avenue at Porter, looking west. And I'm along Central Avenue looking north, and this is Alba, more so a trail than anything else at this point in time. So our analysis from a staff perspective, no health, safety, welfare issues were identified as concerns by staff. The property sits within the suburban neighborhood place type. It's characterized by low to moderate density residential with some commercial uses incorporated or intermixed into the area. The proposal aligns with Elevate Las Cruces. In fact, there's several goals, objectives, and policies that pertain and support what is being considered this evening. It's consistent with the PUD section of the zoning code, And notice was sent to the surrounding properties, and at this point in time, other than the one individual who had questions regarding El Llano, which is no longer at issue per this new submittal showing the new boundary, staff has not heard of any other concerns at this point in time. The staff recommendation is conditional approval based on the findings. Again, the area was previously planned for multifamily development. That plan expired. It addresses all the requirements per the PUD section of the zoning code. All applicable rights-of-way will be provided and roadways improved per ordinance, except for the local roadway, which is under waiver consideration, if the commission deems it appropriate to do so. The applicable improvements along Central Avenue will be coordinated with City of Las Cruces to help facilitate off-site drainage improvements. The PUD provides flexibility in terms of development, in terms of what they are proposing, and there's a balance with what they're requesting in terms of what public benefit are received by us as residents of Las Cruces. The proposal seeks to provide a form of missing middle housing, and as such, the conditions are as follows. The developers to match any existing and/or approved alternate cross-sections as they relate for Central Road, or Central Avenue rather, and Porter Drive. Central Avenue is perhaps the one roadway that will have a alternative cross-section considered due to the drainage right-of-way. Porter Drive is pretty much your standard roadway, arterial roadway, so less so on Porter Drive, more so on Central. The modified cross-sections or any request to do so will have to go before DRC, and there's a request by several of the DRC members to ensure that safe modes of pedestrian access are incorporated into said road designs or cross-sections to ensure proper connectivity and access to uses adjacent to this development, and I'm speaking to the park and trails that are on the east side of Porter. DRC heard this request and the waiver request on 8/28/24, and DRC unanimously recommended a conditional approval to P&Z of the concept plan. The road waiver did not have a similar fate. Keep in mind that original request involved El Llano and Alba. El Llano is off the table today. It's no longer part of the discussion. The fire department said that at that meeting that they could probably support the Alba Road waiver, but not the El Llano. So if you take that into consideration, it's more 3-2 in favor as opposed to 2-3 denied. Your options this evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, to vote yes and approve the request for the concept plan and the road waiver separately, of course. You could vote no and deny them. You could vote yes with conditions as those presented by staff or any others you may deem appropriate, and you can vote to table. Any denial requires new information or findings that have not been provided to you in packet or presentation. And that concludes staff's presentation. Mr. Harlow Dynek, the property owner, is in attendance, as well as Paul Pompeo, his representative, and they may have some presentation to provide.
Thank you. Does the applicant have a presentation they wish to make?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Please state your name for the record.
Paul Pompeo.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I have a short presentation, and then I would be happy to answer any questions you might have about this development. Once again, this is the Sunrise Mesa PUD area located to the northwest of Porter Drive in Central, as outlined on this map. Staff has gone over quite complete the concept plan as shown here. Once again, here's a zoomed-in version showing kind of the lot alignments, the interior roadway alignments that will be built to city standard, along with the commercial tract to the southeast of the development. Once again, this property is 23.2 acres in size. Its existing zoning was PUD R2. The original PUD was actually approved in 1999. And by this development, we're proposing 12.6 acres of multifamily housing, 4.41 acres of commercial, 2.19 acres of open space stormwater management, and then that leaves 4 acres of dedicated right-of-way from this tract of land. The multifamily areas are proposed to have land use density between 16 to 20 dwelling units per acre for a total unit count of between 201 and 252 units. This is the original PUD that I presented to this body in 1999. Boy, how time flies. And so the northern area kind of showed how the lots were going to be laid out as a manufactured housing type development. So the public benefits of this PUD concept plan is to provide multifamily residential housing and neighborhood commercial land uses for a growing population in an area of Las Cruces that has these limited type of zones. Housing options proposed by this development provide additional opportunities other than typical single-family products that are not attainable to many in the population. Neighborhood commercial zoning allows for goods and services adjacent to the residential housing within walking distance to this development and to others in the area. Also, as indicated by staff, we are proposing to do our 50% build out of Porter Road and 100% build out of Central Avenue. As discussed by staff on the flood zone issues by this development, we are going to participate in the future Sand Hill Arroyo Channel project, which will eventually connect the Waterfalls Flood Control Facility, which is to the east and south of Highway 70, to the Oro Vista Flood Control Facility, which is located to the west of this development. This project will feature the construction of a concrete lined drainage channel, which will ultimately remove 27 individual properties from the existing flood zone in that area. Now moving on to Alba Road. As shown here on the map, Alba Road is located in this area right here. This is the tract of land that's adjacent to the Sunrise Mesa development, and then adjacent to that is the Oro Vista ponding area that belongs to the city of Las Cruces. As noted by staff, this strip of land runs up and it dead ends in this area here. And note the housing of existing lots in this area. We are respectfully submitting this roadway waiver to Alba for the following reasons. Alba Road is wholly contained on the adjacent property to the west. This roadway was created by a previous property owner of that tract. The Sunrise Mesa development has no beneficial use of this roadway, as we are taking no access from it. Improvements, if required, to this roadway only benefits the underlying property owner and no one else in this area. And to continue, Alba Road does not contribute to the overall roadway network in this area either, as it dead ends to the north and therefore provides no additional continuity to any other property. Based on these reasons, we feel that a waiver to these roadway improvements for this specific stretch of road are justified. And I want to point out, this is the deed where this easement was created, and it's located right in this area here where it says it's subjected to a 60-foot road and utility easement on this property. And what I'm suggesting by that, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, that the property owner took it upon themselves to create this 60-foot strip of land. This deed was filed back in 1988, I believe. And so it was created by that property owner. And so since they've created it on their land, wholly on their land, it should be their responsibility to develop it. With that, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions the commission might have.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission? Commissioner Smith?
I just have one quick one for clarification. The access points, is it going to be from Porter Road and from Central Avenue?
Yes, there'll be one access point, one off of Porter and one off of Central.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Commissioner Thurston.
Who's the property, oh, sorry, how are you supposed to say it properly? Chair and then Pompeo. Always mess up on the thing. On the other side of Alba Road to the west, who's the property owner of that?
The last name is Calderon.
Okay. I'm just curious if there is any, and now, is this on the 50-foot right-of-way is on your piece, or is that on his piece?
Let me, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, let me go back to that. This strip of land, Alba Road, and I guess just for clarity, I found the document that created the 50-foot easement. I have not found a document that took it from an easement to dedicated right-of-way. I don't believe that has any impact on this discussion tonight, because the city wouldn't have never have accepted it for dedication without having improvements on it. So there may be a mapping issue there. I'm just saying I was not able to find it. That easement does exist. It is of record, and it was on top of this tract of land here that was the 14.6 acres to the west.
Is Alba Road a local road?
It would be a local road, yes.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, I have a question for Mr. Pompeo. So from my understanding, you're going to build a 50% of Porter Drive and 100% of Central Avenue, and you are not requesting a waiver for Elba. You don't want to touch Elba because it doesn't impact the property, correct?
Yes, Commissioner Acosta, we are going to do the 50% build out of Porter, which is required by code. We're going to do 100% of the build out of Central. Central is a collector. It could be argued that, we're only to do our half of that, but this developer has, in order to get access in the area, because there's we saw no avenue that the property owner to the south was ever going to come back, because that development's basically complete. So I guess in the grand scheme of things, we talk about benefit. Maybe we're shifting the responsibility. We're building out the drainage channel. We're building out more of Central. We're asking for the waiver to Alba Road.
Mr. Chair, I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but I have to commend the builder for doing that, building 100% of the Central Avenue and then participating in the drainage channel. It's a rarity.
So just for my own clarification, this maybe is a question for staff, but so it's established that Alba Road is not on the applicant's property, correct?
It is not, Mr. Chairman, it is not on my client's property. That's correct.
Okay. So a question to staff is, why are we requiring them to, follow an access easement that has nothing to do with this application, this property owner, this applicant?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, when we had talked, when staff had talked with the applicant and applicant representative, the discussion centered around Alba Road having 50 feet dedicated. As per the design standards, Chapter 32 of the Muni Code, any adjacent roadways of a local, anything below a collector, improvement is required 100% by the adjoining development or the proposed development that adjoins that road. And that's the only reason why they were on the hook to improve Alba Road. Now, when we were talking about it, it was dedicated. So Mr. Pompeo had just indicated that an easement document had been found, but no dedication document. So if I were to read the code literally, they probably wouldn't be on the hook for it at all unless there is dedication involved. it's just one of those catch-22s where what is it, really?
Okay, so just to make sure I'm following, so there's no record that there was a local roadway designation to create Alba Road, correct?
That's what Mr. Pompeo has stated.
Okay.
He could not locate.
And the city agrees with that? There's no,
Based on what I've heard this evening, without doing our own research, that kind of thing, I don't have a clear answer for you on that.
okay. Seems like an important question to answer if we're asking the applicant, or in this case, requiring the applicant to build a road. Seems like that would be something we would not want to know the answer to, because the way that I see it right now, the applicant hasn't proposed any access from this Alba Road, and the legal access easement as it exists now is not even part of this application. The property owner doesn't even own it.
Correct. It's adjacent to the boundary of the concept plan, but if it were dedicated, looking at the request and what has been presented and provided to you in your packet, it assumes the worst-case scenario in terms of the improvement of that roadway. It assumes dedication. So if it were dedicated, they would be on the hook to improve. And what the request is this evening is a waiver to that standard, if you will. So if it's no longer dedicated and it's just an easement, and question exists whether or not it is considered even a local road. It's just an access easement.
Okay, I'm following.
You see what
I
I
think
mean?
I'm just not sure why we wouldn't run this to ground. Why are we dealing in a hypothetical? I mean, there's
Well-
clearly an answer out there, right?
Yeah, in terms of the review, yeah, there should be an answer to that. In terms of the review of the proposal, whatever is submitted by the applicant, it goes through the reviewing parties, land management, for instance, takes a crack at it, planning, et cetera, fire. This issue did not come up in terms of dedication or easement. It was identified as dedicated right away.
Okay,
By the applicant,
and staff's position is the applicant is on the hook for developing.
per code, yes. If it is dedicated, yes. If it is not,
Well,
they're not.
is it or isn't it?
We don't know. I don't know. I don't have a firm answer for you. But what I'm saying is the worst-case scenario, in terms of it being dedicated, the applicant would be on the hook to provide, but they're asking a waiver to that standard. So really the question is, do you feel what they're providing via their concept plan warrants consideration of the waiver if it were dedicated or not?
Yeah, I guess I have an issue with the fact that we haven't done our homework here. It seems like if the answer is there's no dedication, there isn't even a
it's a
need
moot
for a
point.
waiver. It's a moot point. So
Right.
I'm just not sure how we got this far without figuring out what seems to be a pretty fundamental question. But I'll get off that horse unless there's anything else to add to it.
Mr. Chairman, the issue with Alba Road has been one that's been lurking for a while. And it would be inappropriate for myself to pin this one on staff. We did our own property research going back. Prior to 1980, the tracts of land, and even farther back than that, were identified by sections of land. As we start digging into it and looking at Alba Road has shown up as a dedicated right-of-way on the GIS forever, all the way back. So I think people just inherently just took it that it was a road. Well, in looking at this application, and actually I didn't get the deed for this until today, and I apologize for the lateness, Mr. Chairman, but the only thing I could find, and coming up through 1983 to 88 to 89, so we're in the county and we're prior to ETZ, this easement was showing up on the deeds, and then all of a sudden it turned into dedicated right-of-way. Well, taking a step back, so if we start in 89 with the ETZ, the only way that that could have been dedicated right away after that point was either, so that was prior to it being annexed into the city. So I misspoke. The only way for it to be, by the time we get to 1988 or 89, the only way for it to be dedicated right away was, there's only two ways. One was via subdivision plat. And both of these properties are not within a recorded subdivision. So we know it didn't happen that way. There could have been a separate dedication request that went to city council, but number one, I have not been able to find that. And number two, I find it hard to believe that the city would have accepted dedicated right of way with no improvements. That just doesn't happen. So I stand here before you tonight because there's always that 1 in a million chance that there's a document's going to pop up, and I don't want to take that chance as we get to city council. So I'd like to proceed forward with the waiver request, with it being assumed to be dedicated right away, and then if it turns out not to be, then that request will just fall away as we make our way to city council.
Understood.
Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
thank you very much. That's helpful context. I appreciate that. Any other questions on this topic? I have a few other questions. Moving on to the open space and drainage. So can you just describe a little bit more what the idea is there as far as combining those two things?
Well, we've done the drainage calculations volumetrically for what that area needs to be. We just don't have if we only need, for instance, Mr. Chairman, if we only needed half of it for the actual drainage improvement, then maybe we would try for a park or open space or some other type of amenity. It's just at this time, because we don't have the design finished, we don't know how much area we've got to work with. So I wanted to leave the door open for open space, and rather than just calling it a drainage tract, I wanted to leave the opportunity that it could be more than that.
Okay, because on the concept plan, it very clearly just says drainage. So I don't know if we need to change that to make sure that the open space is captured there. I guess what would happen if the calculations come back and you say you need the whole thing for drainage, the open space is out of the picture at that point?
It possibly could happen that way. I don't know what the when I talk about the drainage, not trying to deflect the answer is that, but we have drainage from this development, plus we have drainage that we're going to cut off from those existing arroyos to take down to that channel below. So taking all that into consideration, since we haven't done the hard engineering on it yet, I couldn't answer that. But there is a possibility, Mr. Chairman, that the entire area would be needed for just stormwater management.
To have both of those things, right? You could do some sort of native type of landscaping in your stormwater drainage tract that can serve as passive, recreation, in addition to when it does rain on occasion, you're then able to capture stormwater as required. So I'm just wondering if could that be the eventual outcome here?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I mean, we would accept a recommendation or maybe another condition to modify this from drainage to drainage/open space, and then that would leave opportunities for that.
Okay. I mean, it seems like that would be a way to accommodate both of those concepts, because it sort of seems weird to be talking about this idea of open space and that you're putting that in your win column, right, as it's a public benefit, but then, we get to the end of it and it's like, well, just kidding, we needed it all for stormwater. It seems kind of...
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we'll make that modification. In the original concept plan, the green area was wider because we were pushed out to the north a little bit more, so I don't know why it got dropped off, but we'll add that back in as a condition of approval if you so see fit.
Okay, yeah, I think we should consider that as an additional condition here. And then just for clarification on Central Avenue, so that whole right-of-way would be from these two tracks, correct?
There'll be a total of 125 feet of right-of-way between the existing property line of the Sunrise Mesa Mobile Home Park to the southern boundary of this development.
Okay, but your dedication, the full dedication of Central Avenue is coming from this applicant's
Well,
property?
no, there was a, let me go back to I think originally, you can see the gap in there. This Sunrise Mesa on the southern end built up to this property line. I think this was shown as a 50-foot road at that time in 1999. But so we're going to go from that property line 125 feet north. So whatever is missing there, whatever it takes to get to the 125 foot, will come out of the northern piece.
Gotcha, okay, thank you. And then, this is, I think, a question for staff. So on the density, we obviously have the number that you threw around. I think it was 16 to 20 if you're just looking at the residential component. But what mechanisms are there to ensure that that is ultimately what gets built? I mean, because the site plan, I mean, I didn't do the math, I didn't count, I don't know how many lots that is, but I don't think that's the 200 that Mr. Pompeo identified. So I guess what mechanisms, because I don't see anything in the staff report that says there shall be a minimum residential density. How do we ensure that what we're talking about tonight ends up getting built?
So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the concept plan itself, if you go to, I mean, the larger picture, I realize that it's hard to read. It's a lot of information. Down here in there, on the concept plan, it illustrates the method of construction and the manner in which those homes will be attached. And so because it's here and because it gets approved, should you approve it, that's what they're going to have to follow.
Thank you. Those are all the questions that I have. Commissioner Thurston.
I got a question regarding the lots as well, because when it comes to permitting time, you go in there with just a single lot, and if this is R2, it still says that you're permitted to build a single-family home on this lot. What's going to stop you from putting a fourplex, a duplex, versus just a single residential family home on there? If it's meant for multifamily, what's the mechanism in which that's going to be upheld? Because in here, if you got 51 lots, and there you got about 204 lots, or 204 units, which in this, it's showing that it is a multifamily. So is that written? I can't read the small print on the concept plan, so I'm just wondering if that is written in on that.
It is. Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Thurston, the blow-up of the concept plan, particularly this tabular data here, not only gives the range for multifamily in terms of the density, but also indicates the minimum number of units is 201 and the maximum is 252. And then, as indicated in the previous answer, I know I cut it off just simply to fit it on the slide, but down on the bottom page of the concept plan, the applicant illustrates the manner in which development will take place on each lot. They are proposing to utilize a policy, a departmental policy that allows them to permit those as single family, but the fact that there's going to be 4, we would normally in the planning world call those a quadplex. Worst case, as indicated in certain instances, it would be a duplex. But from a permitting standpoint, they're going to be able to utilize a policy that allows them to permit those as single family units. But the broader property, landscaping, all that still has to be met as a multifamily component. So from planning's perspective, it's multifamily. I'm just saying from a permitting perspective, they get the benefit of that policy as single family.
Okay, so on this density, I can't read this one. You're saying the minimum density is 201 units?
The total number, the minimum total number of units is 201.
So in the DRC comments, they were saying they would possibly be doing some duplexes. So
Correct.
if you did duplexes, that would be underneath if you did all of them as duplexes, you'd be underneath the 201.
What, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Thurston, what the applicant has stated is, for the most part, there's going to be certain instances where duplexes would pertain, and perhaps Paul has clarity on that, but it was mentioned that fourplex would be the thrust of their development proposal.
Thank you. I got a couple other little questions for clarity. On the public benefits, is the drainage was one of the ones that I saw. As you see the drainage coming across the property, it looks like it's more just being shifted from the middle down to the central is what I'm kind of seeing. So the public benefit of that is
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Thurston, oh, I need to get back to my slide. Vince, can you? Sorry. Can you open it? Went by, okay. So this land tract here, or this where this vegetation is greener, and then this channel alignment here, is what constitutes 2 fingers of the Sandhill Arroyo. This arroyo runs through the Tierra Hermosa subdivision, which what the staff spoke of, which is to the east of here. This Sandhill Arroyo runs in its natural flow path between the waterfalls in Pontman area, which is up off of Holman Road or actually Dunn Drive and Highway 70, runs in its natural course down into the Oro Vista ponds, which you can see are tagged here. Between this development here at Sunrise Mesa, the Tierra Hermosa development to the east, and there are 4 other property owners, is to take the Sandhill Arroyo from where it crosses Highway 70 and in a concrete channel running down Central Avenue, coming into the 2 inlets here that are in the Oro Vista Pond. So this channel is not just, in other words, this cannot be taken out of the flood zone until this entire channel gets built. And that's why we've restricted to only phase 1, which is in the northern area of the development here. And we can't do anything else until this channel gets built. So this channel is required by this development for phases 2 and 3. It's also required for the 3rd phase of the Tierra Hermosa subdivision next door. We have met with the City of Las Cruces and the Public Works Department. This interconnection is part of the city's stormwater management plan. And so we'll be working in a collective effort with the city, the other property owners, and as adjacent developer of Tierra Hermosa to get this channel built.
I got one last question so thank you for that explanation of that. The last one that I have is on Porter Road or Porter Drive. When will the entire Porter Road be built out? Will that be built out in phase 1?
Well, Porter Road's kind of a tricky animal here because when the Vista de la Montaña subdivision that we got approved back in the 2008 or 2009, we had to put this chicane in Porter Drive because we couldn't get, because Porter Drive was down on the western side of the right-of-way at this intersection. So the decision was made to shift Porter Road over so that it would line up with the other half on the western side. But as Porter Road came up to this Vista de la Montaña subdivision, it changed back to the east side. So as it sits today, the Tierra Hermosa development that this commission has previously approved in the last 5 or 6 months, they are on the hook for building this other half of Porter Drive here. The Sunrise Mesa group is required to build it from this location to the north. So you have 2 existing ongoing subdivisions that will build this full section of Porter Drive.
So when you come in and do phase 1, then Porter Drive, that will be installed at that time?
Yes.
Okay, and that'll be in phase I was nervous on that because as you see throughout the city, now this doesn't have to do with this project, but throughout the city, we see where it goes from a 2-lane to a 4-lane, back to a 2-lane, and then another half a mile that goes back again. And so I'm just wanting to make sure that we're not, when phase 1 is getting put in, if phase 1 is the north portion of it, we're not going back again and doing the same thing we've done in the past, is going from 4 and then allowing the development to happen here without improving the rest that at that time. So my personal issue of me driving around the city is that it really goes from a 4 to a 2 to a 4, and it drives me insane.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Thurston, and to your point, the first phase of this development does run down. This little other white area right here is Village Drive, and so this is the future roundabout that the staff and the developers at Tierra Hermosa have been discussing. In the next phase of that subdivision is that's what get built. So all of that will get built all approximately at the same time.
Thank you.
I have just one additional question that I remembered. This is, I think, a question for staff at first, but the commercial part of this development, how does that align with our current commercial zoning districts? Will it not, any restrictions on what they cannot do from a usage perspective?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, in terms of the proposed use of that property for commercial purposes, it would align with our existing designations. Keep in mind that the property itself is going to be zone PUD. They're proposing potentially a small center of multiple commercial uses. So it may not have a C3 or C2 designation like we typically see, but they intend to use it as a commercial center, either individually or in tandem with other like uses.
Okay, but when we talk about commercial center, are we talking neighborhood-centric uses? God forbid another self-storage? Like, what's kind of the cons? I guess if we leave it open to whatever they want, that sort of seems kind of defeating the purpose of a PUD, I would think.
No. The, Paul, did you want the use on the C3 neighborhood?
Mr. Chairman, the uses on that property would just be more neighborhood-based, nothing major. In other words, we don't see a plan where the entire 4+ acres would be consumed by just one building. It would be all neighborhood, small commercial uses.
Got it, thank you. All right, I will turn to public comment, and if there's any additional comments, we can come back afterwards. So anybody in the audience who wishes to speak on this item, can I get a show of hands?
Mr. Chairman, I apologize.
Yes.
The staff and I are looking at a deed, or a warranty deed that speaks to Alba Road, but it doesn't. It's a warranty deed that, and this is why I couldn't find it. This is a warranty deed that between the city of Las Cruces and Woods from 92, but the property information that I found was previous to that in 89. It talks about a warranty deed for a piece of land, but what I've not seen, I didn't see a dedication document, and that's what I was looking for. So that's what staff and I are discussing. I apologize if the attention was taken away.
No worries. So I guess what does that mean for us doing research on the fly here?
I'm going to let Adam take that one.
Well, welcome, Janet. ETZ's back. She saw these can of worms Adam Ochoa, Community Development for the record. We saw these cans of worms multiple times in the ETZ, where essentially people owned a huge tract of land that somebody in Albuquerque or somewhere just drew a line saying this is an easement here. So when they bought that land, they said a road's eventually going to go there. and then eventually, essentially, sometimes they would leave it as an easement, and sometimes they just said, we're gonna dedicate it. So they dedicate it to whatever entity is over them, either the county or the city, ETZ, as a joint venture. And then basically, the city would never accept it, the county would never accept it, so it just stayed there. It's just kind of a no man's land, if you will, of a future road that nobody claims really anymore. And then you find these tidbits here and there every once in a while, and sometimes you could put them together, sometimes you couldn't. That's why sometimes ETZ subdivisions, especially for larger subdivisions, took such a long time to get done just to find those things. So I guess tonight the request would be to possibly move forward the waiver as if it is dedicated, because if it is, then if you choose to move forward with whatever recommendation you choose to, we have that issue taken care of, if you will, where they'll either have to dedicate the road, do more research, and dedicate the road and build it, or they got the waiver request and they won't have to build the road, essentially. So,
Okay, and it's still staff's position that you wish to deny, or your recommendation is to deny the waiver? That's staff's position?
Mr. Chair, ours was, correct, is to deny, staff, planning staff did vote at DRC to recommend approval for the waiver request, but DRC voted to deny it. With 5 different departments, it was a 3-2 vote for recommend denial for the waiver request, sir.
Got it, okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just for clarification, so if we approve the waiver, it's for them to do the build-out of Alba Road. Am I understanding that correctly?
No, if we approve the waiver, it's so that they would not have to do the improvements. Yeah,
Would not. Thank you, sir.
clear as mud.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, in looking at some of the information from the staff city website regarding rights-of-way, I found an instrument 924203 with the assistance of staff dated 2/21/92, and on the map it does talk about right-of-way for Alba Road, file date of 3/3/1992, and instrument number as indicated 924203. So staff would conclude that's dedicated. It may not be accepted by the city because it's not improved, but it's dedicated.
And that's just on the adjacent property?
That's on the adjacent property outside the boundary
Okay.
of this concept plan.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Thurston?
So the way the code is written, if I understand it correctly, and staff might have to correct me on this, but since it's also a local road and you're subdividing and it's adjacent, you're required to put the whole road in. Not just one side of it, but you're supposed to do the whole road.
That's correct, 100%.
So for clarification, today they're wanting us to waive it and to not have them have to put it in. And then that the future responsibility would lie on the owner to the west.
That's correct.
Okay.
Where the road currently sits.
Thank you. All right, going to go back to public comment. I didn't see any hands, but just to confirm, nobody wishes to speak on this item this evening. All right, seeing none, we'll come back to the commission. Unless there's any further conversation, we've got a couple of things. We need to restore the rules to vote on these 2 items separately. So first, we'll take a motion to do that. Okay, never mind. We don't need to make a motion, so we can just vote on them separately. So we're unsuspended. Looking for a motion then to, let's see, where's my agenda? So the first motion will be item 8.1, which is the request for an approval of the Sunrise Mesa Planned Unit Development Concept Plan. So this is not the waiver, this is just the PUD.
I make a motion to accept the concept plan as presented.
Keep in mind there were conditions recommended by staff. So if we want to keep those, you need to specify with conditions. No, the conditions were on page 2 of the staff report. It's just the conditions as follows. There were 3 of them. Page 2. You see?
Mr.
So
Chairman,
it doesn't include the waiver.
point of order, they're also up on the,
Yes, they're also on the TV.
With staff recommendations, conditions as recommended by the staff.
Looking for a second.
I second.
Okay, so we'll take the vote on 8.1. Commissioner Thurston?
Sorry, I was reading the, making sure I knew what the conditions were. Yes.
We need an explanation.
Yes, based off of the discussion we had, and also that it meets the, I had my notes, it aligns with the Elevate Las Cruces comprehensive plan.
Commissioner Smith?
I vote yes based on staff recommendation, and it complies with the Elevate Las Cruces comprehensive plan.
Commissioner Acosta?
Yes, based on staff recommendations and Elevate Las Cruces comprehension plan.
And Chair?
Yes, based on staff recommendation and consistency with Elevate Las Cruces.
Okay, now we're going to vote on item 8.2.
So looking for a motion to approve the waiver. This is item 8.2.
I make a motion to approve the waiver where the developer is not responsible for Alba Road development out.
I second.
Commissioner Thurston?
Yes.
What's your explanation?
Sorry, I always forget about that. Yes, based on the, where is it? The public benefit of the drainage coming across, and also the section where they said they're going to produce the pedestrian walkways.
Commissioner Smith?
I vote yes based on staff recommendation and also consistent with the Elevate Las Cruces comprehensive plan.
Commissioner Acosta?
Yes, based on staff recommendation, discussion, and Elevate Las Cruces comprehension plan.
Chair?
Yes, based on the discussion this evening and the fact that the development is not taking access off of Alba Road and that it resides on the adjacent parcel.
Thank you.
All right, I think it should be a little bit easier the rest of the way. Moving on to new business. First, we will hear case number 24Z0, I think, 1000102, which is a request for a special use permit to allow a child care group home.
All right, thank you, Chair. Adam Ochoa, Community Development, for the record again. This is a proposed special use permit, or SUP, for a property located at 1809 Beverly Place. Property is located on the west side of Beverly Place, approximately 385 feet north of its intersections with East Mulberry Avenue. It is zone RO&A, which is single-family medium density. There is currently a single-family home with its ancillary uses on there. Property is roughly about 0.207 acres in size. A lot of the lots around this area are a little bit larger than your typical RO&A lots of 5,000 square feet. There is an existing single-family home on there with an existing home occupation. Basically, that home occupation, we define that under our zoning code as a family child care home with a maximum of 6 children. So showing here the subject property, as you can see, leading into what's just a large single-family residential neighborhood, elementary school to the north, a little bit bearings, East Mulberry to the south here, and Madrid, I believe, is to the north here as well. Here's the aerial, again, a couple cul-de-sacs leading into that neighborhood here, where the east is majority developed single-family. We've got some vacant multifamily zoning to the west and south, and of course, again, the school to the north. So what we're reviewing tonight is that proposed special use permit to allow essentially what's called by the 2001 zoning code a group child care home, which would allow up to 12 children. Per the City of Las Cruces zoning code, any more than 6 children being taken care of at a single family home with a home occupation are required to seek a special use permit. The applicant has stated that they will be operating Monday through Fridays, as they currently are, from 7:30 to 6. They do have will continue staggered drop-off and pickup times in the morning and in the afternoon. They typically see anywhere between about 2, maybe 3 parents at a time. They do utilize an online communication system with anybody that comes to their daycare to provide announcements, updates, so on and so forth like that, to keep the minimum amount of parents on site at once. They do have adequate parking. They've provided a site plan showing they do meet the minimum parking requirements for the single-family home and for the proposed expanded home occupation. The applicant has stated they will follow all requirements of the City of Las Cruces, including the fire department and their requirements, and the state of New Mexico as well. They finish off by stating essentially they have provided child care services for over 13 years, so they are definitely experienced with this, with what they're proposing here. Showing the site plan here, as you can see, rather large area here. Got a play area here for the children, the home here. They have improved parking here. They have gravel parking to the east as well, with on-street parking along the cul-de-sac, of course. Since this is a local roadway, on-street parking is allowed along the entirety of Beverly Road. Showing here just a floor plan of what their daycare areas are, bathrooms, so on and so forth. This was a requirement from them, from our fire department, showing their egress, emergency egress, and so forth. So they do take care of that. They take care of that issue for fire. When staff did their analysis, we essentially didn't identify any public safety, health, welfare, safety issues, which is kind of one of the leading things what you should be looking at for a special use permit. The proposed special use permit is supported by Elevate Las Cruces comprehensive plan in that it encourages for small business entrepreneurship and letting that grow. Supports for the increase in access to childcare, not only in small area neighborhoods, but the city as a whole, and also supports for home employment and live work units, that type of situation in the city. The proposal is compatible with the neighborhood since it is a home occupation. The primary use will continue to be a home. It'll look like a home. It won't have any signage outside, with the ancillary use being the actual special use permit or that child care service. In addition, on top of that, this is a much-needed service throughout the community since we've had a number of special use permits come before y'all. And as stated by the applicant, and as stated in the past and other meetings as well, where essentially caretakers have waiting lists for kids trying to get into their child care home services in order to provide child care for them. So public notice was sent out to all surrounding property owners within 500 feet of the proposed special use permit. Staff did receive an email and a letter, which is before you. We also received 2 phone calls opposing the proposed special use permit. Staff did receive also a phone call supporting the proposed special use permit, essentially stating that there's a school right there, it makes sense, if you will. The people opposing it, as you read in your letters, bringing up issues with traffic, potential additional noise, the blocking of driveways and so forth like that. We also had 2 phone calls with really no issues, just looking for information and hanging up essentially on staff. So with that, staff does recommend approval for the proposed special use permit with the findings seen here. Again, the property owner wishes to expand her group child to a group child care home to allow for more services and provide that assistance to the city. Drop-off pickup locations are optimized on-site to promote child safety. State of New Mexico Early Child Care Education and Care Department and their licensing requirements will have to be followed, and our requirements as well. Childcare, again, is a much-needed service in the city and the surrounding neighborhood. Proposed SUP does meet the purpose and intent of Section 38-2 of the 2001 zoning code and all applicable requirements of the 2001 zoning code, including updating her home occupation, will be followed. With that, your options, ladies and gentlemen, 1 is to vote yes and approve the proposed special use permit, 2 to deny the proposed SUP, vote to amend or place conditions on the special use permit if deemed appropriate by the commission, or 4, table, postpone, and direct staff accordingly. The applicant is here. If you have any questions for her, I stand for questions as well. On one more note, my apologies. I did want to mention, though, if you do vote to deny the proposed special use permit, you will have to provide new findings of fact, since staff is recommending approval, and we provided those findings. So, but I stand for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the applicant wish to say anything before discussion? You're not obligated to, but. Before you get started, please state your name for the record so I can swear you in.
Catalina ACS.
And do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to state that, Mr. Ochoa has presented, that I have been doing this for 13 years, and I've always had parents asking me to be put on the waiting list. So I do have a possible 4 people that are interested, and as we'll gradually enroll them, not all at one time, just because it takes time for, parents to get used to the new parking and follow protocol. And just to state that I've always been in compliance with zoning in the 3 different locations that we've been providing childcare. Our first place of business was on Bridger, and our second place was Buchanan, and our third place now is Beverly. So if you have any questions for me, I'd be more than welcome to answer them.
Great, thank you. Any questions, Commissioner Smith?
Chair, I have one question. So you currently operate with capacity of 6 children. For how long have you been operating?
For pretty much the 17 years of doing this. And
Okay.
We've done overlap as well. We've had enrollments up to 8, but it got complicated. And also COVID hit, so we went back to 6.
Okay, so for 17 years, you've been operating a home child care center with 6 kids.
Yes,
So now your request is to increase it by 6 kids to 12.
yes.
So when I think about traffic, I look at some of the concerns that people that are opposing this have. You may have up to possibly 6 more vehicles staggered over time between 7:30 and 6 p.m. Arrive and drop off and pick up children. Okay, I just want to make sure from an impact standpoint that we understand how many cars are actually going to be increased over this time period from 6 kids to 12 kids.
So what me and my family have decided to do is move our personal vehicles up more into our driveway. So that'll give us at least 2 to 3 people to park in our personal driveway. And then those that, for the curb site, how it goes around, we've done it in the past where we've peppered, sorry, can't pronounce that word, 3 cars each, so that's actually 6. And then everybody just backs up and moves out correctly as to exit out the cul-de-sac.
Okay, so you've already increased the ability to have at least 2 cars in your driveway.
Yes,
Okay, so they would not be parked on the street, they would not be blocking traffic, you're in a cul-de-sac, and they would basically stop and enter your home, pick up their kids or drop their kids off. So we're talking a maximum 5-10 minutes if our car would be parked either in your driveway or in front of your home?
Yeah, 5 or 10 minutes, yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm just asking these questions from a common sense standpoint, approach
Yes.
to how you're operating the traffic situation with your home. And so I just want to give some clarification so that as we address some of the opposition to this, we use practical and pragmatic thinking
Right.
in your opposition. Because if you just don't want it, that's one thing. But if you don't want it with a really valid reason, then that's something that we have to address as we go forward. So I just want to just kind of set that platform right now. So, all right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the commission? All right, I will go to the public. Is there anybody here who wishes to speak on this item? Can I just get a show of hands real quick so I can see? All right, it just looks like we got 3 individuals on this side. I didn't see any over here. So we will start with you, ma'am. If you want to come on down.
Good evening, everybody.
And before you get started, please state your name so I can swear you in.
Valeria Holloway.
And do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under penalty of law?
Yes,
I'll give you 3 minutes. Go ahead.
thank you. I just wanted to just iterate that you were talking about the multiple cars. Well, most parents are calling for 2 or 3 kids at a time. There's hardly ever, we ever get a parent calling for just one child. There's usually a brother and a sister. Maybe one has to go to school or the other one will be at the daycare all the time. So the cars probably will not be that many going in and out of her driveway. I just wanted to make that clear that I hardly ever have families that have just one child.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then we'll go, you guys take your pick, whoever wants to go first.
Sorry about that, board members. I walk a little slow. I have medical issues.
No worries. Please state your name for the record.
My name is Dominic Wong.
And do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
I'll give you 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay. But I live to the right of the property, and the areas of concern that I had, that my sister was the one who sent you the letter, and she voiced her concerns about one being a low residential area, low traffic, and she also mentioned 3 other areas.
Sorry, sir, do you mind just getting closer to the mic so we can hear you a little bit better? Thank you.
The increased noise pollution, expansion of the subject property, because if they're going to have actually children living there, how much expansion is going to work, and if there's going to be construction equipment and stuff, trucks going in and out of the area, and as far as the people that live in that area, there's a lot of elderly, there are a lot of retired people like myself, and some of us have medical issues. And how is this going to affect us with all this extra stuff going on, and for how long is it going to last? And the biggest concern, of course, was property values. The one thing that we were concerned about, and it's in your letter, was my sisters have experience with this type of situation before in the past. And the biggest thing is when you have a residential area changing over into a commercial zone area, property values around that area seems to depreciate. And if we try to sell our property in the future, how much of the value is going to lose? How much are we going to lose in the property value? How much are we be able to sell our property for? That was one of the biggest concerns. And we presented that to Mr. Ochoa, and we're trying to figure out what's going on. If it goes through, we have a good relationship with the individuals that live in that property with the childcare. But the biggest thing, of course, is how it affects the rest of us as our properties. Because if it comes in and we try to sell the house, how much do we lose? Because it was just because in this past experience that my sisters have been through with other situations with other people in their residential areas, there was a very substantial amount of money. They lost quite a bit. People living in the area, and their property values depreciate a very substantial amount. If there's any kind of guarantee that we can have, I don't know if we can have it in writing or I don't know if something that's verbal it will stand up, but we would like to have something that's solid, that's saying that in the future when we try to sell our properties that we won't lose our property value.
Thank you very much. And you have 1 second. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you very much, board members. You guys have a good evening.
Thank you, you too. All right, I think we're just at least one more hand, so please come down.
Hello, Eloy Barron.
And do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
Honestly, I'm a parent that drops off his children there. I don't know, is there any way you can pull up the little cul-de-sac? And honestly, I think the gentleman might be a little misunderstood of like contractors coming in and building. She's not building or doing anything extra. Oh, I don't know if you're able to zoom in on that cul-de-sac there. No, you're not able to. When I pull in to drop off my child, I actually never see any other parents, maybe one. And honestly, the best part about the way they're set up is I'm able to just pull in. Usually I'm the one that pulls in all the way up their driveway. And in reality, they have probably at least a good room for 4 vehicles to get in and out pretty easily. But if you notice around the cul-de-sac in the front of their house, when people pull up, you can park 4 or 5 cars and you're not blocking anything anywhere along the way. Being able to go in and out very quickly, that's probably like the best thing is that we're able to mobilely check in our children instead of having to get off, or we get off at the door and boom, we're out. The kids usually run in. It's not even 5 minutes, honestly, I'm not even there. But the truth is everyone, or actually all these are parents here, and everyone has at least 2 kids that are going in there. So for that, it being more mobility, more vehicles, or being worried about parking and stuff like that, for Ms. Catalina, I honestly, there's plenty of room and plenty of space just within the front of her own house for at least 7 to 8 vehicles easy. But yeah, I just wanted to clarify that little area, but honestly, she has just about everything that she needs, and honestly, very convenient area. I don't see anyone losing depreciation, especially if you have a new home or new homeowners coming in with new kids. You got an elementary right there, you got the hospital right there. Honestly, I think this will probably even bring up appreciation in the neighborhood just because you got childcare for anyone that's new that has coming in with a new single family or more than one family. I mean, you're kind of there, but I appreciate your time and you're listening.
Thank you. All right. Did I see another hand up on this side? Yep. Do you wish to speak? You don't have to. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. Coming back to this side just real quick. No other hands. All right. We'll close public comment, come back to the commission. Commissioner Smith, you want to make a statement?
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. We've had a number of applicants come forward with requests to either establish or increase the number of children that they have in their home child care business. And you know, there is a shortage of childcare. There's a shortage of affordable childcare in the city. And, you know, we have an applicant who has had a very good home childcare center in her home for 17 years. And, you know, I want to address, Mr. Wong, your concerns. You know, as I said earlier, we do get a number of these applications over the years. And one thing that always comes up is a decrease in property values. And not one time has someone who's had an issue or concern about property values provided us with any data, any studies, anything that says that this actually occurs. I'm just a practical thinking guy, and I can't imagine that having 6 kids arrive over a staggered period of time during the day would cause your property values to go down. It's a neighborhood. Neighborhoods have kids. You have people of different ages. You have elderly people, you have young families, kids running around the neighborhood. At least they used to when I was growing up. So I don't see how that's a detriment to your neighborhood, to have kids or hear the sound of kids laughing and playing in the backyard. How is that a bad thing? How is that noise pollution? I'm just putting that out there because I get concerned when people make complaints and they bring up narrative that don't fit any reality as far as, you know, property values going down. If they do, provide us the data, we could help make a decision based on that, but it just seems like it's useless to even bring that up when that occurs. So I respect your concerns, Mr. Wong. We operate from a place of reality and practicality as commissioners on this board. So thank you.
All right, looking for a motion to approve this case, and I think this evening, instead of using the item number because there is a typo, if we can go ahead and just state the case number in our motion, just so we're all clear.
I make a motion to approve case number 24Z01000102.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that motion.
Commissioner Thurston?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Well, reasons.
Sorry, I always mess up on that. I got to elaborate. Yes, based off of the staff recommendations. Yeah.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes, based on staff recommendation and the need for affordable childcare in the city of Las Cruces.
Commissioner Acosta?
Yes, based on staff's recommendation.
Commissioner Murray?
Yes, based off the need of affordable childcare and staff recommendation.
And Chair?
Yes, based on staff recommendation and consistency with Elevate Las Cruces.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our final item this evening. This is case number VO05001111, a request for a variance to the maximum square footage requirements for an attached sign.
Good evening, Commission. This is John Castillo for the record. Today we have a property located at 1053 Hainer Avenue who's requesting a variance to the maximum allowed square footage for signage. The property is located at the southwest corner of Compress Road and Hainer Avenue. Its physical address is 1053 Hainer. It's zoned M1, M2, which is our industrial standard zoning. It's approximately 15.98 acres in size. It is a vacant, abandoned cotton processing facility. It's also located within the Amador Proximo Community Plan. They are going to be using an existing metal warehouse building, and we do have a proposal utilizing an existing water tower that are on the property as for their attached signage. As we can see here on the zoning map, the subject property is highlighted in yellow. Here's an aerial view of the property. The subject attached signage are going to be here located on this abandoned metal warehouse, as well as the proposed one will be on this existing water tower on the property. So the code requirements under Chapter 36, Section 36-46, anybody who's in a commercially zoned or industrial zoned area is allowed 1.5 square feet of on-premise signage for each linear foot of exterior wall. And then the following attached signs would be things such as awning signs, canopies or marquees, banners, roof signs, window signs, and wall signs. These wall signs could be anything that could be painted on that provides any type of advertisement, or it can be an actual affixed sign that's illuminated, or just some type of board or anything. So the proposed sign that we're looking at for the area is going to be an 828 logo. It will be illuminated, and it'll be located on the water tower, as you can see from the artist rendering, as well as looking at the water tower that's existing as is. The other sign is a constructed sign that has the 828 logo on it as well. This can be seen from Amador Avenue. It does sit back approximately 260 feet, if not a little bit more. So the analysis of this is that the painted sign is on an existing metal warehouse. As you know, it is an abandoned warehouse at the moment. The sign was installed without a permit. Based on the linear foot, it does have, it is only allowed 150 square feet maximum. The current sign is 546 square feet in size, so we're requesting a deviation of 396 square feet. The proposed illuminated sign, which would be located on the water tower, based on some rough calculations of trying to find an area of a cylinder, we've roughly come up with 70.5 square feet. The sign that they're going to be proposing is going to be roughly about 10 feet high, and will have a maximum square footage of 837 square feet. So they're requesting a deviation of 766.5 square feet. The applicant wasn't also aware of the requirements for the sign permit. It was just erected or painted on at one point from one day to the next. Under the zoning code, Article 2, Section 38-10, for the variance request, they are set to provide criteria of hardships. These are not self-imposed hardships. So one of them that the applicant was speaking to was a physical hardship, being that the building is offset from Amador. The sign does bring significant attention as you drive along Amador Avenue. As it sits further back, it also shows a commitment to the community for a future film studio that's going to be provided there or developed there on the site. The other part is potential for spurring economic development. This may or may not spur economic development at a citywide or statewide level. The applicant has stated that through investments done on behalf of the city as well, through a LIDA project, there are going to be monies that are brought in excess of $350 million, both from the film industry on a state level as well as into the city as well. As the film studio gets developed, it brings in jobs. It will keep and maintain jobs on the property. And also it's going to be revitalize an established neighborhood by creating a dynamic destination. The other hardship there would be as if it does get denied the cost of already placing the sign on the property, they would have to then remove it, thus painting over it or re-sanding it, however it would be to be removed. Today's staff recommendation is denial. While discussing it with all staff members, it wasn't a unanimous denial. Many of us felt that the sign was not a big issue other than exceeding it and not being done without a permit. So staff still provided a recommendation of denial. We did not find any significant safety, health, and welfare issues identified. The findings of facts for the denial are the existing attached sign was installed without a permit. The existing attached sign exceeded all allowed maximum square footage, and the request for the variance does not meet the criteria for decisions as outlined in Article 2, Section 38-J, or 38-10J of the 2001 zoning code. Public notice was sent out to all relevant agencies and departments. They all supported the proposed variance. Notice was also sent out to surrounding properties within 500 feet. Staff did receive 2 phone calls that were in support of the variance. They're excited to see what the future development is going to bring forth as far as revitalization, and that it's bringing well-needed attention to the area. Today, your options are to vote yes to approve, vote no to deny, or vote yes with conditions, or vote to table.
All right, thank you. Is the applicant here that wishes to make a statement? Yes?
Yes, the
Please come-
applicant is here.
Let's have the applicant go first, yeah. And before you get started, please state your name for the record.
My name is Jonathan Sepp.
And do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners, and staff. My name is Jonathan Sepp, as I stated, and I am the Manager of Operations and Public Affairs for 828 Productions. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you all this evening, and also very thankful for John Castillo, Sarah Gonzalez, and other city staff that has assisted us throughout this process. It is our hope that we will be allowed to keep our current painted sign and install up to 3 828 signs on our water tower, both located at 1053 Hainer. This, alongside our adjacent property at 300 South Compress, is our 35-acre site intended for cinematic infrastructure, strategically positioned just minutes from downtown Las Cruces. For those unfamiliar with 828 Productions, we are your local film studio and production company. We have a lead-up partnership with the state of New Mexico and city of Las Cruces. Highlights from our commitment under that partnership include investing $75 million in cinematic infrastructure, spending $350 million on production in New Mexico, and to create 100 jobs. 828 Productions is rooted firmly in the film industry here in Las Cruces and the future that it holds. And our bold signage, we feel, is essential to establishing our brand identity and creating spaces for film and television productions to enjoy doing business in Las Cruces. If our requested allowance is granted, I am confident in saying that these signs and our investment in branding will spur economic development at both the neighborhood and citywide level. Thank you all for hearing us tonight, and I am open for any questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Murray, you had a question?
Question for staff.
Please ask it.
Could you maybe go back to the sign that shows the 828 on the middle building? Just for understanding purposes, since they painted the background black, you're considering that entire portion square footage to the sign and not just considering the 828 numbers as a portion of the sign only? In another word, if they did not paint the background black and only did, I don't know, the letters or numbers in black, would you consider that the same thing, or would you just consider the square footage of the numbers?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Murray, the square footage that was obtained was from the actual size of the 828, both the height and the length. That goes beyond what is allotted based on the linear foot of the building.
Okay, that makes sense. And then on the water tower portion, if they were to get approval and to illuminate it, how is that being illuminated? Is it kind of like backlit, or is it shining like with uplighting?
Yes, so we currently we currently received a mock-up, a 4-foot mock-up of this, and it is, I don't think I can explain it very well, but it is lit inside with a back glow. But our intent with the lighting of this sign is to stay within the lighting code.
Okay, those are my only 2 questions.
Any other questions from the commission?
I do. I'm just trying to figure out how to articulate it. This is a question for the applicant. And you were unaware that you needed a permit to erect or paint a sign, fairly large sign. You know, if this is denied, do you have another option for signage that will be within compliance? Because I know it's big, it's bold, but, you know, I live near that, you know, near your building, you know, I'm in that community. When I first saw it, it was just an 828. There was no 828.com, there was no anything that indicated that you were a studio. So as I look at your proposal and your request to have 828 on a water tower, it's just 828. It could just be an address number. So, you know, do you have, you know, a second option that will help you come within compliance so that you can have, you know, some signage, you know, for your property and for your business?
Chair, Commissioner Smith, thank you for your question. At this moment, for these two buildings in particular, we do not have alternative sign options available to us at the moment.
All right, my second question is, I know, you know, you want to have, you know, this large signage to bring attention to your business, but, you know, we live in a social media, digital advertising world. I think you would get much more bang for your buck by, you know, doing social media, as you're well aware, I'm sure, being a production company. You know, I'm just, you know, just curious as to why you feel like just having this big, bold statement is that critical to the success of your business when you can actually come up with a plan that will, you know, comply with city standards and code for signage.
Chair, Commissioner, I appreciate that note. I don't know how to say this without being cheesy, but we are a film production company. We are a film studio. We have a water tower on our lot. It would be against our creative nature to not want to do a big, bold sign on a water tower, similar to many other companies that have done similar signage.
I understand where you're coming from. I mean, you go to Hollywood, you got the big Hollywood signs. You got movie, you know, studios in Hollywood. They got big bold signs. So you want to have a big bold sign here. You know, it's just we're not Hollywood, and we're not, you know, some of the other areas that are doing big film production. And you know, we still have codes and standards that have to be complied with. And although I appreciate and respect, you know, your creative vision, you know, you still, you know, the big sign that you already have, it's you know, it's going to be difficult to have that be a valid reason, you know, to, you know, agree with that, so.
Any other questions?
I got one, Chair, for the applicant. You say the economic development that the city is going to receive is, you're planning on the $75 million and possibly up to $350 million. Do you have a time frame in which you guys are projecting that out? Is that a 5-year? Is that a 30-year?
Chair, Commissioner, yes, and I do apologize that I don't have those specific numbers or those specific dates in front of me, but each of those commitments does have a schedule attached to them, and they range from 2028 to 2031. And I apologize, I cannot be more specific as to which one relates to those, but I could happily come back with that information if that is helpful.
Yeah, I was just more curious on the actual time frame, because if, you know, a company comes in and says, I'm going to give you $75 million, but it's over 50 years, it's not that big of an impact to the community. It is a good impact, but it's not as much as we would think when you see the large number. The only other thing that I see on here is for me to sometimes around the city, I like to see things become, you know, more attractive. And so your proposed sign on the left, it looks attractive because it's it's new, right? The building, the water tower is nice and shiny, and then you go to the water tower on the right, which is actual, and it's not shiny, it's not new. So in that update, I personally would say if, in order to approve something, I would like to put like a condition on it that you at least paint, and paint the entire water tower type of a deal, and then be able to put your sign on there to at least make it more attractive than just slapping a sign on there. That would be something on my side of thinking that could be one of the conditions to actually at least be more attractive.
Any other questions? Commissioner Acosta?
Mr. Chair, this is a question for staff. If we were to look at a variance on this based on what is in front of us, physical hardship, spur economic development, and monetary consideration, based on your expertise, would any of these three criteria fit for a variance?
Chair, Commissioner Acosta, that's how we got you on the commission, so thank you for that question. Adam Ochoa, Community Development, for the record again. So this one was really a difficult one for staff to come to a general consensus. This is technically John's case, but we come together as a planning team and see, since we have such a very limited, those three items, how we could recommend approval for something. Some things are pretty easily seen. In the past, we've had a freestanding sign here for Loves. They got a variance, and Allsup's, they got a variance. That one was pretty cut and dry because not only did they provide actual engineering facts showing that this sign has to be this tall and this big in order to exit safely off of a freeway. Okay, that's a physical hardship. This one, staff was trying to wrap their right amount. Well, I guess it's kind of a physical hardship because the building's kind of moved back, so you can't really see it from Amador, the only real principal arterial in kind of a more older area. Some staff disagreed. Staff also brought up about the economic development. That one was probably one of the strongest one, that standpoint. And its potential, yes, it does have a potential for doing that, but it just wasn't that clear as like if it would be an Allsup's or a Loves that were basically under construction right then and there. And then the last piece of the monetary hardship, again, yes, they already invested, or they are investing into the property, including the sign as well. So that's why it was kind of left up in the air. But staff still, again, couldn't have a concrete way to choose one of those three items of our criteria to recommend approval, which is why it was kind of like denial, sure, I guess, just because of that fact. That being said, though, staff just kind of like got together, well, let's just put everything in on the table for the commissions just where you could get our thoughts and not only the facts of code, but our thoughts as staff, and leave it up to y'all because y'all can then just find, if you feel that it does meet it'll spur economic development, by all means, that is a finding because that's how you're interpreting the code. Or the monetary hardship, that could be a finding of fact, or physical hardship. You as a commission have that ability, since it is your decision or criteria that you'll be voting on. Staff is just here to present what staff is interpreting per code, ma'am. I know it's a loaded question, but I think hopefully that kind of clarifies everything for you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
yeah.
if I may, please. Nicholas, for the record. It depends on how the commission makes the decision to approve or to deny. I would ask this stipulation: if you do approve the variance, I'm in agreement with Commissioner Thurston. I think the water tower would need to be improved in terms of its appearance. But most importantly, I would also want a condition that the sign was placed without a permit. We issue permits and we have a fee on the permit. And anytime a work is conducted without a permit, we have a penalty for doing that. So we wanted to see that penalty fee charged if an approval is for the variance, the penalty fee for that sign that was painted without a permit, and then we would want them to get a permit for the sign that they're going to do. If the commission decides on denial, then those two conditions would not be applicable. Thank you.
Thanks for that clarification. Commissioner Smith, did you want to say something?
Yeah, that kind of leads to the question I had from the sign that's already been erected or painted. I know staff, you stated that it was a soft denial, as the term you used. And my question was, is there a way for the current sign to remain in place with the penalty, and then they would have to come back or reapply or request for approval for this tower sign? Or are we just voting on both? I mean, basically, we're voting on the overall denial or approval with conditions.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Smith, that again is something that could be left up to y'all, how you would like to vote to, if denying one, approving the other, based on whatever findings you feel fit to approve or deny those. That'd be up to you. But the application is for, right now, currently as one application for two signs. That'd be something of possibly even speaking to the applicant, see if he'd be willing to split those up, if you will. Or, but like I said, what's before you now is the two signs, the proposed one and the existing.
I think it would just be efficient to do both, because they would still have to come back for variance on the one that's currently painted. So I think we just address both of these tonight. From my perspective, if you present me with an Allsups and a Loves and this, I take this every day. I mean, come on, we approve a variance for a gas station sign, but we're gonna nitpick I mean, this thing actually, is interesting in my mind. There's a Shell gas station sign, tall freestanding sign, that when I'm walking in the neighborhood at dusk, I swear, every time I look at it, I think it's the full moon. And it's just ridiculous. So, I mean, to me, this is great. I have no problems with it. If I had one maybe critique, you mentioned the 828 on the water tower being illuminated. I guess two thoughts. One, does it have to be illuminated? Second, if I understand how you were describing the illumination, it would be kind of like a gas station sign where the light's inside broadcasting out. Is that correct?
Chair, thank you for the question. So the lighting has like a soft white face that does extrude forward, but the primary lighting feature is to the back of it, or at least that's the current planning and thoughts behind the first rendition that we had created.
Okay. I think I kind of understand what you're saying. So I guess my first question is, does it have to be illuminated, number one? So I'll let you address.
Chair, Commission, that is our preference. We would prefer to have it illuminated.
Okay. And then did you give any consideration to maybe just doing paint and then having lights that just broadcast onto the water tower as opposed to light illuminating off the water tower?
Chair, Commission, yes, there was discussions around that, and we ultimately decided that for our ultimate branding vision and the way that some of our other signs are going to look like across our other properties in Las Cruces, this was the fit that we wanted for this, was a mixture of the 3D illuminated backlit signs with the flat painted white on black.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, nothing further from me. I think, if we're going to approve an Allsups and a Loves, I mean, this is far more interesting in my opinion.
My last one is I don't have any issue with the water tower itself. Can you go to the other slide of the painted on the wall? That one has, I have more probably issue with that one than anything, because it's more of it's just I mean, it's like any other building that we've kind of seen throughout the town. We just kind of paint an entire wall. So if I had any issue at all, I would come back and say that that's the one that we should amend and then allow them to do the one on the water tower. I don't know if you can split it up, if that's, if we just say, here's the recommendation to actually come back and get the permit for the 828 on this building, and possibly come within the limits of the 828, and then allow the condition on the water tower to go as is, as long as they, maybe possibly update it and make it a little more appealing instead of just the way it is. That's just my personal thoughts of it, but I'm not sure how to basically, that's all I got.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly an option. I think we could do that if we wanted to. I'm just going, can you go back to the sign size breakdown? No, yeah, that one. So the one that's painted is, so essentially we would be asking them or requiring them to take the current sign and shrink it by about 80%, right? Am I doing math correctly? So, I mean, I don't know how that would look on a building at that point, but I mean, that is a route if we wanted to.
Yeah, I was just throwing it out there that if we do have an issue with that one, we can, I think there's an opportunity to change that, or leave it as is and give them the approval. So it's up to you guys.
I don't
also
have
as
any
well.
issue with it. I think this is much preferred over a gas station, so.
I guess a question for the applicant. Do you have a timeline on that specific building and what the other portion of the exterior is going to look like in the future?
Chair, Commissioner Murray, I really appreciate that question. I apologize, I'm going to add some context to this real quick, if you don't mind. So my project manager that had the original sign painted, for some reason decided that he was going to approach it as a mural, even though it does advertise our business, which is called out in the sign code as specifically not a mural. And so that's what sparked the conversation between me and between city staff and myself to start looking at a variance for that one specific already painted sign. In those discussions, they asked, do we have any other future plans for signage on the property? And that's where we started talking about, yes, we do have we do have plans for signage on the water tower, and they recommended to us that it would be best to come to you all with both of those options. So we did have to scramble a little bit to get our designs rendered and start working on getting the ball rolling on that. So that did start to move a little bit quicker than we were anticipating. Adding things like painting the water tower will also increase our timeline on that. And actually, I do not have a solid timeline on when that sign will be created because of the last minute nature-ish of it being requested as part of this variance request or this allowance request. To answer your initial question, the original intent behind beautifying this property with signage, or at least that's what we like to consider it, is beautifying the area with our signage, is to just assist in the overall look of the area as we work through the many phases of construction. Right now, we are actually primarily focused on 300 South Compress and getting a stage built there. 1053 Hainer is not currently on our schedule right now to develop. So as we work on the property adjacent to it, we are going to be working on just cleaning up the area, making it just look better. And that is the original intent behind this signage and this variance request.
Thank you. Can we just circle through public comment just to close that loop, and then we can finish out our conversation? So is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak on this item? All right, seeing none, we'll come back. Final thoughts, questions, concerns? Commissioner Smith?
I just have one quick question for staff. So this would be a pretty significant variance as far as size of signage from the existing code. I mean, will we be setting some precedent from for this size of a variance?
I have one question to add on to that. In the new code that we're reading, does a variance not set precedents based on how the new code's written? If you could touch on that point too while you hit his.
Chair, Commissioner Smith, so Precedent is difficult to really say, well, they did it. Well, that doesn't matter. They went through a process in order to do what they did. So whoever would want to come out here would have to go through the exact same process and essentially, like a better word, sell why that variance is a good thing, and it doesn't meet the criteria, which I believe he actually very nicely explained his view from an economic standpoint, how it would potentially help the city, if you will, from an economic standpoint. Additionally, on top of that, a variance does stay with the property. Variance does not leave. It sticks with that property. Now, a future code comes along that is a little more lenient, that would allow it by right now to no longer needing a variance. That's a potential as well, sir. As well as our code right now is a little dated, I hate to say, just because of its age. It doesn't really distinguish between, you wrote 3 letters on there or just a logo on there to what an actual sign is. It's just considered an attached sign, whether it's an attached sign that's got fireworks blowing off on it and a rhino running across of it 3D style, or something that's painted on a piece of metal that's part of the wall. That's kind of a little bit of shortcomings of our code right now. It's gotten some clarification with our new codes, but like I said, variances, they stick with the property. It just basically sticks to the property until it either comes into compliance by themselves or whatever else happens in the future with it, sir.
Yeah, Commissioner Smith, I'm pretty sure, I don't know the exact numbers, but the Loves and the Allsups that we've recently approved, I think it was similar in the amount of variance that they were asking for. I think the one out on the West Mesa, it specifically included the fact that they could put it on like a 200-foot pole. So, I mean, I think there's to my mind, this isn't any real significantly different than what we've already done.
And if I could clarify, Chair, pardon me, those signs were actually 4 times the height of the sign that was allowed there by right. And not only by height, but by square footage, they're almost triple as well. They're rather large, yes, sir.
And I just have one more just comment or question for the applicant. You know, as Commissioner Kaiser said, you know, it's like we have, you know, love signs that are big and bright and shell signs that look like the moon. You know, as far as like having a sign on the tower, I'm going back to his original question about lighting. You know, it'll be evident because you would have an 828 on a water tower. That alone would draw people's attention. And at night, I think just from just a neighborhood compatibility as far as lighting, as he suggested, you know, maybe just have it painted and then have some lights projected on it, you know, similar to what you would see, you know, in Hollywood, you know, just have a, you know, light projected on the sign. I understand your creativity and you want to really bring attention to it, but, you know, we're trying to help, you know, make a decision here. And I think from a lighting standpoint, we can't go from, you know, big, giant, bright love sign that they have that, you know, that it's kind of a, you know, not really that sight, you know, a positive sight to see, as opposed to you coming up with something that's just as bright, you know. So I'm sorry, I guess a combination question and comment, so.
Apologies, point of clarity. So just FYI, any type of illuminated sign, it will have to follow not only our lighting ordinance, we do currently in the city of Las Cruces have a night sky ordinance as well, sir. So there's requirements where depending where you are, it could only be so bright at night, so bright during the day, so on and so forth like that. So we do have that code in place as well, sir. That is a
Awesome,
requirement.
that really helps. Yeah, thank you very much.
Chair, Commissioner Smith, if I could also touch on that, I appreciate the comment and the note there. Part of the plan with the lighting is to be able to have it remote, like LED lights, and then to be able to dim it, brighten it, to have full control over the color and the luminosity of it as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that. My biggest concern was just how bright, you know, it would be, but now that I know that there's definitely a lighting code that you would have to comply with. That helps a lot. Appreciate it.
All right, so I think we're looking for a motion to approve since it does need to be an affirmative My recommendation would be we add the condition that Mr. Nichols suggested about getting the appropriate permits for both signs as part of your motion to approve.
And would that also include the penalty for the
Yes.
sign? with the
Yes.
permit?
Mr. Chair, I'm going to give it a whack here. I'd like to approve granting a variance. Is that correct? Case number. I'd like to approve case number 24V050111, granting a variance based on findings of spurring economic development and monetary considerations to include conditions of the following. For the tower, the appearance needs to be pristine and brand new, all the way from top to bottom. All penalty fees will apply to this particular case for any penalties that need to be applied. The applicant shall apply for all permits as required for both signs. I think I got them all.
I think we got it. So we'll look for a second.
I second.
Go ahead and call the vote for case number 24VO050011. Commissioner Thurston?
Yes, based on the economic development impact that'll give us and also the discussion we had.
Commissioner Smith?
I vote yes with conditions as laid out by Commissioner Costa, and also that having, a new local business and ability to advertise and bring in revenue would be good for the city.
Commissioner Acosta?
Yes, based on the new findings of economic development.
Commissioner Murray?
Yes, based on economic development and the simplicity of the sign compared to other gas station signs.
And Chair?
Yes, based on the discussion this evening and the economic potential and benefit that this business will bring to downtown and the city. Okay, that was our final item this evening. Any announcements from staff?
Yes, Chair. Just a reminder, we will be having a work session next week for Realize Las Cruces. So that work session is scheduled for next week. Here, you got all your packets already and your books. Hope you guys like reading those. I know we've been having a great time doing it. Just one other announcement, our Planning and Zoning Commission meetings for the November Planning and Zoning Commission and the December Planning and Zoning Commission, pardon me, will be moved up 1 week due to the holidays. We don't want you all to have to move your holiday plans around, because essentially, if we kept them where they're at, you're lining up with Thanksgiving and the winter holidays. Let's put it that way for be politically correct. So for your records, the November meeting will be on excuse me, November 19th, and for December, it'll be on December 17th, the third Tuesday of the month for both of those. But that is all that we have for staff announcements, sir. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. All right, looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for coming out this evening. We'll see you next week.